Hi guys, welcome to yet another episode of Microsoft ERP Beginners Tutorial Series. So in the today's video, we are going to continue our discussion about the serial number. So focus is going to be the automatic serial number generation in Microsoft Dynamics 365. So with that note, let's get started. Hi guys, welcome back again. This video is going to be the continuation of my previous video on the serial numbers. So in the previous video, we did had an introduction to the serial numbers and how do we manually register the serial numbers in Microsoft Dynamics 365. And in today's episode, our focus will be again on serial number, but this time we will be seeing all possible scenarios related with the automatic serial number generation. So let's get started. So in order for me to prepare the environment for the automatic serial number, the first setup is your tracking number group. Okay, so in the inventory management module, under the setup section, under the dimensions, we have the tracking number group. So get into the tracking number group. This is going to be your first setup. So let me create a new tracking number group. So that serial number auto is going to be my new tracking number group, and I'm going to name it as automatic serial number. And so this will help you to automatically generate serial number based on the number sequence setup that you do within this particular group. So I'm going to enable the number sequence, and I'm going to also set up a number sequence according to my company's requirement. Okay, so I'm not going to use this number sequence. Let's create a new number sequence. So serial number sequence serial number sequence. Okay, that's my serial number. That's the number sequence for my serial number. I'm going to put it for this company, and I do not want this company name. I want only a prefix which is going to be SN hyphen, and I don't want that to be too long. I'm going to make it as a 4-digit serial number, and now the largest 4-digit number is going to be 4 nines, and that's going to be continuous. That's it. So just save it and copy that and just put it here. Yeah, that's your new sequence number that will be followed for serial number generation. So I'm not going to make any changes. We will get back to some of the parameters here shortly. The only thing I want to do is I want to enable this, and I want to just put a 1 here, meaning for every one quantity I want the automatic serial number to be generated. Okay, that's an important setup. So now you save it, and that's your tracking number group. So the next step is going to be you go to your item for which you want to enable the automatic serial number creation. So the release product item, in this case I'm going to use this item. Okay, this item is already created with the tracking dimension serial number enabled. So you see, we've already seen it in the previous video. So in this particular item, get into the um, manage inventory, and against the serial number group, I'm going to paste that. Okay, so now that's it. So now this particular item is active for automatic serial number. So now let's go to the purchase order and try to purchase this item. Let's create a new purchase order. Vendor name. I'm going to add the item number here. Okay, it's done. And let me just say 4 item. So I'm going to purchase 4 item, confirming it. So previously we have seen that when the automatic number sequence for the serial number, when it was not enabled, the system did not allow us to directly go and click on the product receipt, because system throw us an error saying to register the serial number, right? But in this case, I can still go ahead and directly receive this item because the serial numbers are anyway generated. So you will see that if I get into the inventory transactions, the item received in 4 different lines. So let me enable the serial number column. So you see that the serial numbers are generated and they are following the number sequence that we have set up, SN hyphen 001234, etc. Okay, so this is how the automatic serial number works in Microsoft Dynamics 365. It's very, very simple. All you need to do is to create a serial number group and associate with the release product, and the serial numbers are automated. So now let's see some variations in this and some additional scenarios related with the automatic serial number. So for that, let me just go to the released product, or maybe to the serial number group, that is the tracking number group. So if I go to the tracking number group, it is in the inventory module. Yeah. So let's go to the inventory management, um, dimensions, tracking number group. So we have seen that the serial number was generated from this particular number sequence. But now that you just don't want the number sequence as a part of your serial number, you also want to prefix the serial number with the additional reference numbers, let's say a purchase order number. Okay, so for that you need to enable this particular parameter. So let's say what happens. So I've enabled this parameter. Likewise, you can also prefix date or lot number if you need. For now, I'm only going to activate the reference number, which is going to be the purchase order number in this case. Now let's quickly try to add the item in a new PO and see how it behaves now. That's going to be the item number, and let me change the quantity to 3. Okay, and let's confirm the purchase order and receive it. I'm expecting that the serial number will now be prefixed with the purchase order number. And one very important thing to note is your serial number length can only be 20 by default. So while planning your number sequence, if you're trying to append lot number or date or a reference number along with the serial number, you need to plan your serial number sequence and the purchase order number sequence length accordingly so that it doesn't exceed 20. Okay, so that's the reason I kept my serial number sequence to 6 digits, because I know that my purchase order number sequence is already 10 digits. So let's go and check the transactions. Let me add, it's already added. Okay. If you go here, you see that the purchase order number is prefixed, and you also have your serial number. It's 8, 9, 10, and your purchase order number remains the same. So this is how the tracking number group reference impacts the serial number if it is enabled. Okay, so in this case I'm going to again disable it back and save it. Okay, so let's try a few more other scenarios related with the automatic serial number. Let me create a new purchase order. uh, let's try to add a vendor, that one. Okay, So now let me add the same item number to the purchase order here. So let me also try to put two quantities, save it. So here, as soon as I created a purchase order and added a line into a purchase order, if I go and check my transactions, I will see that the serial number 11 and 12 is generated already. Okay, so even before I do any physical update, even if I just quickly add an item line, the serial number is generated. Okay, let's say I've accidentally added this particular item. Let's say I've added an item with 100 quantity. Then just imagine that 100 serial numbers are already generated at the behind the scenes in the transactions level, and then you realize that the line with 100 quantity is not needed, so you just remove the line because you accidentally added it and it's gone now, right? So now if I go back again and try to add the line back, um, and let's say let's put 10 quantity this time and save it, and you will see that the number sequence will, if you see the transactions, then the number sequence will continue from where it left before. The number, I think 11 and 12 got wasted because it got wiped out, and now the number sequence is started from 13 to 22. And imagine that I again remove the line and add it again, then my actual number sequence will start from 23. So there is a lot of gaps in the middle in the number sequence just because I'm accidentally adding it and removing it, and also creating a lot of lines in your table, right? So eventually over a period of 10 years or a few years of using this, you will see that there are lot of sequence missing in the middle while you're using this particular item. So in order to avoid this particular thing, what we can do is just I remove this. um Inside the tracking number group, there is a option called as on physical update, right? So just enable this option and save it. So if you do so, then if I add the line and put the item again, and let's say 10 quantity, okay, save it. And if I go to my inventory transactions ordered, but if you see, there's no sequence number because the serial number is not generated for this particular item until there is a physical update. So this is also a very good tip for you, just in case you want to avoid unwanted serial numbers getting generated. So you can now confirm it and receive it, and you will see that only while updating the receipt product receipt, you will see that the number sequence is generating. So just that one, say okay. Okay, so that way you will see now after you receive it, the number sequence will be generated. That's one tip for you if you're planning to avoid the accidental creation of number sequence. Okay, so that's one scenario I want to show you. So now let's try to explore some more scenarios within the, I mean, related with the automatic number sequence. So um, let's go to the release products and pick an item for this scenario. Let me try to pick this item. So we have seen a scenario in the previous video where um, for this particular item, I think we wanted the capturing of the number sequence during the purchase process as an optional. That is, we not necessarily need to capture the serial number every time I purchase it. I only want the serial number to be captured during the sales process. For that to happen, we have actually made a blank receipt allowed as an option against the serial number. Of course, we can also enable active in the serial only in the sales process checkbox if you completely want to ignore the serial number during the purchase. But in this example, I sometimes want a serial number, or sometimes I do not want a serial number. I want to keep the serial number process optional during the purchase process. For that reason, I have enabled the blank receipt allowed, right? So let me try to use this particular item and create a purchase order and see what happens. Let's say I really do not want to capture uh, the serial number during the purchase process in this case, because blank receipt is just optional. But since we are not doing a manual serial number anymore, in this case I think it also has an automatic serial number. Let me just double check that. Get into the product, um, under the inventory tab. Oh no, it's not enabled. So let me try to make this as automatic serial number. So now that this item generates serial number automatically, uh, let me see how it works. Let me just remove it and add it again to be just sure. Yeah, so that one. And now I'm going to use, let's say, 4 quantity. Save it. And here, let's say I do not want the serial number during the purchase process, but I do not have a control because I'm not going to register the serial number manually. uh, the serial numbers will generate automatically. So let's see what happens. So let's confirm it and receive it. Okay, so now if I check the inventory transactions, once I finish the purchase process, I see that the serial number is still generated. Of course, it is optional, so it is generated, it doesn't matter. But just in case I don't want this to happen during the purchase process, it's fine for me to have the serial number only during the sales process in such cases. And if you want to control that while you are keeping up your automatic serial number, you can still do that within the tracking number group again. So here we have a purchase activation. Just deactivate it, save it, and activate it during the sales process alone. Same is applicable for the production order and inventory transfers as well. So I have done these changes and saved it. So now let's try the scenario again. So I'm going to just replicate the same scenario again. Put your this thing. Oh, sorry. The number is uh, let me copy this one, 104. Okay, and 4, confirm, and receive. Okay, so now if I go and check the inventory transactions, there is only one line, meaning there is no serial number is generated during the purchase process. So it is it is optional now. Yeah, so that is about the scenario related with the serial number uh, to be avoided during the purchase process. So and also the main purpose of having a serial number tracking is majorly for pharmaceutical or medical device industry, where or food and beverage industry, where the tracing and tracking extremely important. Let's say you get a complaint on a specific serial number and you want to do a forward and a backward tracing, and to trace back up to the vendor who is responsible for this particular complaint. Then it is possible, like if you go into the inventory management against here, against the tracking dimension, you find all your serial numbers. Let's say the problem causing serial number is the serial number 1. You have a ability to item trace. So during the item tracing, you have a capability to forward and backward trace. So you can just go and do the tracing. I really do not have a item with the full data from the purchase to the transfer to the sales process to show you and demonstrate this, because this is my training environment. So here you see that the item is showing its purchase order and then tracing it back to the quarantine process. That is, it came to a normal inventory and then moved to the quarantine warehouse, and then it's moved back after the quarantine inspection to a normal warehouse. So let's say it, if you have sold it to a customer, you will also see the SO numbers, and if you have made any transfers between the warehouse, you'll also see all those transfer orders here. So you can trace back your serial number from the purchase order back to all the way to the end customer. Likewise, from the sales order right way all the back to the purchase orders. If there are also any batch number related with this serial number, it will show all the entire batch as well, and you will also be able to see um, the full tracking, so this is a very good feature which helps you to do a forward and the backward tracing with the serial number. So apart from all of this, I just want to also cover one additional scenario. So this additional scenario is related with a question that somebody asked me like 3 days back in LinkedIn about the serial number. So the question is whether we can still track the serial number for a service item or not. So that's the question. So let's see whether it is possible or not. So let's get into the release product and let's try to pull out a service item. So that's a service item. As you can see, the product type is service. So that's a service item, product type is service, and that particular service item do have a tracking dimension enabled in the, sorry, the serial number enabled in the tracking dimension group. Okay, let me also check whether this particular item is already attached with the number sequence group. Yes, it is. And one more thing is, within the number sequence group, I also need to activate the purchase again, or else this scenario may not work. So let me just save that. So that's the item that I wanted to use, which is a service item. Let me copy it to a PO. So let's use this purchase order. Let's put that here, and let's say 3 service items, and just confirm and also receive it. Yeah, say okay. Okay, so we have received it, and if you check the transactions, you will see that the serial numbers are generated for the service item. Okay, but let's again redo this with another service item. Let's say that one, and you see that this is also a service item of product type service. So let me copy that item and place it in another purchase order. Okay, so here what I'm going to do is again the same scenario. I'm going to use 3 quantity and confirm it and receive it. But this time you will definitely see a difference. uh, Let me just receive it quickly. Okay, let's receive it. So the difference this time is, this time you will see that the serial numbers are not captured for the service item, meaning if I get into the inventory, there is no transactions also, and there's of course no on-hand inventory, and you will also see that in fact even the serial numbers are enabled, but even without a serial number, it is letting you to receive it. That's because of the nature of the service item, meaning this particular service item which did track the serial number, because in this particular service item the item model group is still a stocked product. So meaning this particular service item will not have the on hand, but it will definitely track the inventory transactions. Okay, whereas the other service item, this one, this will not have the on hand, this will also not have the inventory transactions. As you see, they are all disabled. That's because I'm using a non-stocked item model group, which is, the stocked is not enabled. And in fact, even if I get into the items um, section, that is manage inventory section, in fact the serial number group field is also disabled. I will not even be able to um, tag a serial number group here, meaning I by default this will not it was not even automatic serial number enabled item, and moreover even though the tracking dimension is serial number enabled, but still it won't consider the serial number because it doesn't even have a inventory transaction. So this is like a answer to your question whether the service item tracks the serial number or not. It depends on which service item you're talking about. Okay, so that's it for the day on the automatic serial number process in Microsoft Dynamics 365. See you again in another episode where we will discuss about the batch numbers in Microsoft Dynamics 365. Until then, bye.